DCM works. There's a snake in my boot. It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling. Welcome back.
What?
That's how we're just going in.
Hello.
I nearly choked. Welcome back to the Alvarez Podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David, DCM, creative director, lead writer, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben.
Hey.
How you doing, Ben?
I'm alright.
Nice shirt, bro.
Thanks.
Swordplay shirt on.
Swordplay 2016. Shoutouts to
fucking nerd.
Shoutouts to everyone who went to that.
There's
no one who. Okay.
I'm retracting that shout out. Can I do that? Do I have the power to retract the
already
shout
happened,
out? Shit. Today we're talking about the adaptation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
The strawberries taste like strawberries. The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Snozberries? Who ever heard of a snozberry?
We are the music makers. And we are the dreamers of dreams.
I almost said Adaption, and then I
you
almost
always
said Willy Wonka.
Adaption and then Willy Wonka.
It's been a hard... David's been recording since 6 this morning, and David went to bed at 4, so David's slightly losing his mind. Look, Gene Wilder, he went and died.
Rest in peace. 2016.
He took
another one.
He had a pretty good innings, though.
Oh, yeah, he was old,
He
man.
was fucking old.
Like, I was like, damn, he's... You know who's still alive?
Who's that?
Dick Van Dyke.
What?
Yeah.
How?
He's 90.
Is he a vampire?
I was like, so...
Whoa.
we were so like in the vein of
What the fuck just happened to you?
I'm gonna
Did
tell
you
the
just
story
remember
of,
something?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell the story of why this episode is happening.
Sure.
It's like, you know, Gene Wilder died and Laura hadn't seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. She'd
You
only
keep telling
seen
this.
the
I'm
new
gonna go
one.
get some Pepsi. You keep telling the story.
Sure.
I'm sure this is important.
Sure, yeah. And I was like, well, we have to see it, David.
See you, Ben.
Alright, see ya.
Cat's hungry.
I was like, well, we have to see it because it's fucking Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory, and because, you know, Gene Wilder passed, it's like, well, now we have to see it. So
I'm back.
hey, welcome back.
Thanks, Ben.
So we were like, it's not on Netflix, so we'll just watch it on my perfectly legally.
You bought the DVD,
version.
Ben?
Yeah, and we watched it, and it's a lot better after watching it like
Do you want to get fucking
10 nice one,
Come
like 10
on.
years later.
Do you want to hand me a tumbler?
Sure.
This is the episode where David does stuff.
Yeah,
while
David
Ben
hasn't done like prepared for this. He just kind of threw us into the episode with zero
talks.
preparation.
I mean, I was coughing when we started, so
Yeah.
I don't know if this
I
is
was
flat
making
or not.
noises
Let's
when
find
we
out.
started. So rewatched it, and she had read the books
Oh, okay.
the book. Well, no books. Yeah, I guess Glass Elevator.
Okay, well, there's two books. There's one good one, and then there's the Glass Elevator.
Yeah, and she had seen the remake.
As in the Johnny Depp one?
Yeah, so Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the movie, as opposed to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
There's an episode of background noise.
Nice. So
Professionals.
So we started talking about the differences between the movies, and it's really interesting because there's been like for years there's just been like people arguing over which one's better, like the remake or the original or the remake. And after rewatching the first one and sort of going through a bit of, you know, bit of internet sleuthing.
Oh,
and
you
research.
You looked at Reddit.
I actually did some research. Yeah,
you just looked at Reddit.
IMDb.
No.
It's actually
no.
really weird how this divide sort of came about given some of the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the original film, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a different name to the book, but it's obviously based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, well, it's literally.
Oh,
yeah.
it's an adaptation.
You said
but
that like there would be some, but no, it's an adaptation.
It
of the
is
book.
an adaptation. It's
Oh, I also know why they changed the name of the film. It's because the chocolate already existed.
oh
think.
Willy Wonka's chocolate.
I think someone owned at the time. Someone owned the patent on Willy Wonka's chocolate, so they had to call it.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, because they couldn't have had Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because that was attached to the patent of.
Because that
the
would have
chocolate
been
or something.
skirting the laws of you can't use Willy
Yeah,
Wonka
well,
as
it was
a
like it was like a merchandising problem. Like they wouldn't have
Sure.
been able to sell anything related to the film with
Yeah,
that name
true.
on it. Or it was something like that.
I know, yeah, because Willy Wonka is a chocolate brand now, kind of owned by Cadbury,
No,
probably.
it's
Mars Bars Company.
no, it's one of those dumb ones that isn't either of those.
Oh, right.
It's like
One of the smaller ones.
who makes Dove chocolate?
Don't know. I think that's the Mars Bars company.
Yeah, it's someone like it's like some offshoot of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they're the guys who make like Bounty and stuff.
that's not what I'm thinking of.
So
Look up who owns. Where's the fuck's my phone?
why are you looking up chocolate? No, we're gonna skirt past that right now.
Okay, we can't.
we're gonna get just caught up on chocolate branding.
Excuse me.
So
Sorry for trying to podcast, you son of a bitch.
so there's a lot of really interesting differences between the two films, and I will probably mainly just focus on the two films because the second film is a lot closer to the book, and that's kind of important later.
Yeah. Particularly if you've read the book and then you've watched both films. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
There's definitely an obvious.
Basically,
difference.
it's what we're going to talk about. But
Yeah.
continue.
So the first film is fairly. It follows the book in structure, in the sense that, you know, the first half of the book there's no Willy Wonka at all, and then the second half of the book kind of just races past, and then it ends.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you kind of go, oh, great, cool.
Yeah, it just sort of happens. Like the four kids get wrecked, and then Charlie's the winner, and that's it. That's the film. The
Charlie's
book
the
ends.
king dickhead.
Yeah, he gets the chocolate factory.
Do they leave in the elevator at the end of that film?
In both films, they leave in the elevator.
Okay.
The remake adds a little bit to the end, which I hate. The remake adds a bunch of things which I hate. So the movie follows that in a similar way, where for the first like half hour to 45 minutes, you don't even see Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka, and I think
You mean the most depressing 40 minutes of film?
oh yeah, I mean
So
it's still an okay 40 minutes. Like there's
no, it's well made. It's just really depressing.
It is, but they actually rewatching it. There's actually so much just filler.
What do you mean?
There are so many just throwaway jokes and and like non sequiturs and one offs throughout the first 40 minutes. Like especially during like, you know, the big Wonka craze, they'll just have separate storylines where they only exist to make a joke about like how sought after Willy Wonka
yeah, they
chocolate
exist for a
is.
punchline.
Yeah, like there's one where it's like it just cuts to like a house and there's like a wife and like a detective, and they're just like, and like her husband's been like kidnapped.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're just gonna have to wait for the ransom like offer, and then they get a phone call, and the detective's like listening in. He's like, it's just like they have your husband, he's safe. They're willing to release him for your case of Wonka chocolate bars. And she's like, before that she was just like, I'll give them anything, and then he says
Wonka.
that, yeah, and she's just like, and it's just like, and the detective's like, this is your husband,
She's like,
or
yeah,
a box of chocolate
she's like,
bars.
yeah, but candy.
Yeah, she's just like, tell them to give me time to think it over, and it just cuts away. Like that's the scene.
Is that funny when you're a kid? I guess
It's
it must be.
funnier as an adult, to be honest, just because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because you realize watching it now, there are some scenes which are just fucking stupid. Like, there's parts that you don't really understand the comedy as a kid, and it just kind of flies over your head. But as an adult, when you're like, you know, like the news station where once all the candies have been found, the news anchor is just like, now that that's all over, we will return to more, like, other very important things that have been happening in the world. None of which I can think of right about now, but I'm sure there's something more important than this. And
Yeah,
you're like,
see, as an adult, that's very
as
funny.
an adult, that's very funny.
Yeah, because that's
But
what
as a kid, you're just like,
but as an adult, you're like, oh, that's all right. Good point. Willy
so
Wonka
like
film.
the first 40 minutes, or the first half, the first bit of the sort of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory has a lot more sort of world building rather than just being focused purely on Charlie. And they give him a bit more sort of development as well. In the books, he sort of, when he find the chocolate that has, in the book he goes through a lot less chocolate
Yes.
till he gets to the golden ticket. In
Yeah.
the film, he goes through like 6 bars of chocolate, and they do the same trope of him opening the thing and being really excited and then being disappointed because he doesn't have the ticket. They do that like 4 times before finally doing the bit where he finds the 50
you
cents.
don't need to do.
No, yeah, it's
Because, you know, like...
you just need to show it like once or twice. There's like a few bits where it's just like, well, we could have cut that. You could have cut that.
Well, it's the rule of thirds, right? So you do one shot where he opens it and there's nothing in it. You do another shot of him with a collection of empty candy bars, and then another shot where he opens the one that it has it in him.
Yeah,
Because that's
and-
enough information for you to put the pieces together.
Yeah, and they don't do that. They staccato it around. They do the same shot every time. I think it's about 4 times. He opens about 4 candies. So like the first 40 minutes, it's it's boring, but they fill it with enough entertaining shit to be good. I think most people only really care about the second half of the first film, which, to be fair, it's the better half.
It's
the Gene Wilder wild ride experience. You know,
it's just a roller coaster from start to finish.
I think the biggest point of sort of argument you get between people who prefer the first movie and the second movie is the Wonkas, because that's the biggest difference between both these films is Gene Wilder versus Johnny Depp.
But Gene Wilder's so much better.
So this is kind of where a lot of weird things happen. So
Yeah, things get crazy.
things get weird. So Roald Dahl did not like Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka,
Yeah.
like at all. That was one of the biggest reasons why. You know,
Didn't most people didn't? If I remember correctly, like it was one of those things where he got cast, and it was like a really firm casting decision, and everyone was like, "That's not gonna work."
So it's like an opposite Ben Affleck for Batman kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
like, it's not going to work, and then
Then
Well, it did work. I think Gene Wilder is the best Willy Wonka.
yes,
Like,
except,
I don't know what the reception was like when the film came out, because I wasn't born
Well,
then.
we didn't have and there also wasn't enough information to know exactly how that went down.
Yeah.
It's not as fucking micro and macro recorded like it is now, but yeah, like that. There was a lot of like, and even now, people like. I think people that don't appreciate it tend to be people that don't understand story particularly well. Because it's some of the minutia that he does. Like, even the first time you see him when he's got that walking stick.
Oh, yeah, like
he does the front somersault.
His opening scene is one of, like, the best sort of,
It's such,
like,
it's
1 minute character.
It's such
sort of,
strong
like,
characterization.
yeah, like,
you immediately
you exactly know what kind of character he is.
You go from, okay, here's a guy and he's on the wall, and then he does the roll, and you're like, oh, okay. And the rest of the film, you don't know whether he's lying or not.
Yeah, well, I think the best part of that is the way the stick kind of gets stuck in the pavement and just sits there. Because when you're like, because when I saw it for the first time as a kid, I remember watching it and just being like, wait, what the fuck? How is that stick standing up like that?
Yeah.
And like, it's sort of a weird, like, it almost feels like a non sequitur. But then
You really think about the character, and
you're
you
like,
plan
no,
that.
it makes complete sense.
There was like a divot in the floor for exactly the size of that stick for exactly when he does that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so meticulous. It's like the level of, like, Joker meticulous insanity thing.
Well,
It's
there's like the stories that Gene Wilder was like, I'll do the film, but I want to do the introduction for Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Like, I want to like write it. I want to make it myself.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Gene Wilder was like a fucking brilliant sort of comedian, singer, actor. All of the above.
You paused like you were waiting for me to say something or add something.
I was like trying to think of anything
I was like,
else.
no, you covered-
That's about all of it.
yeah, he was okay at most things.
Yeah, so, you know, him, like, that introduction for Willy Wonka, I think, is amazing. The introduction for fucking Johnny Depp, I don't remember it. Because it probably sucks. Like,
I remember it because it was so bad. He walks out and he, in his Johnny Depp voice, is like,
Oh,
"Hi,
the
children."
fucking voice! Oh!
Hi, guys.
Kill it! Fuck me. Like,
Did he just hear one Michael Jackson tape?
He's
and was
channeling
like-
Michael Jackson the entire film, and I fucking hate it.
which,
So,
ugh.
like, so the weird thing is that the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka is technically more, well, from what Roald Dahl said before he fucking died, in
R.I.P., bro.
1990.
Dude was old as fuck.
Yeah, like it was before we were born. He was like, he didn't think that Gene Wilder was a good Willy Wonka because he was too sort of. He kind of put it as like he was too like bipolar in a sense, like too creepy,
Yeah.
too like foreboding. Which like, yeah, he's kind of foreboding at parts, but it makes better film.
I get what he means, because the idea
Like, you can't, like, and in the book, he's fairly over the top. Willy Wonka is, like, quite eccentric in, like, a cartoon sense. You know, it works for the fucking drawings that Roald Dahl commissions for his artwork.
but the way it's
for
written,
his books.
it's kind of that idea of, like, it's like eccentricity, but there's this kind of like the particular, like the way he's written. There's this kind of danger behind it. Like it's hard to articulate,
Yeah.
but like the way
And
that he's written it, it's kind of like very eccentric on the surface, and then there's this thread of like just like a little bit of danger behind it all, and like like some violence,
and
that
that's
could be
really
there.
hard to do. Like that's harder to do in film than it is in
No,
on paper.
acting like that, you have to be one of the world's best actors.
Yeah, so instead of trying to portray Willy Wonka and probably just failing and being weird and uncanny, they were just like, let's just dial it to 50-50. Like, instead of it being the 95-5 of like eccentric and sort of not really, like dark sort of character that Willy Wonka is, let's 50-50 it
so that people can see
so
both.
that people can understand what his character is.
Yeah.
But then you have the new Willy Wonka. In 2005, film has come a long way. Storytelling's kind of gotten shittier, at least in Hollywood.
Well, that was a
And
weird time in films anyway.
That was, yeah. It was the like pre-3D, like right around when 3D was still using those shitty glasses.
Oh god, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Spy Kids 4D came out.
Spy Kids 3D.
Sorry. Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
3D.
It's 3D. I remember watching that in cinemas. It's
God,
the
that
best film ever.
Don't know about that one, but is that the one where they get in Tron suits and go into a video
It's
game?
the one where they're in a video game. Yeah, I love
okay.
that.
Let's
film.
all try and forget about that.
So, and I feel like in the new one they were like, well, let's go back to the source. Let's, like there are parts in the original film that are different from the book and the remake. Like instead of the squirrels with the good nuts and bad nuts, they have the golden geese.
Yep.
With the golden eggs. So like, but in the remake, they're like, we're gonna go back, have the same storyline basically, but they kept that weird like 95-5 character, but because they were like, well, Johnny Depp, it's Johnny Depp, he's good, he's not amazing, he's not exactly a multi-dimensional character actor.
Let's be clear. Johnny Depp is really good at one thing.
Yeah. Jack Sparrow.
And also Jump Street. That's it.
Yeah.
And
And like
he shouldn't do anything else.
he can play like a character that is just one thread. So he can play Jack Sparrow well, he can play Edward Scissorhands well, I guess.
Did you just have a stroke when you're trying to say Scissorhands?
Well, there's what's the
like
one where he's
Edward
the barber?
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd. Like, he's good in Sweeney Todd
that's
because
easy.
Sweeney Todd has one character
Also,
trait.
not a lot of acting. It's mostly singing.
It's mostly singing. So when they gave him Willy Wonka, they were like, well, he's actually kind of multidimensional. They were like, well, we'll give him the wacky bits. Just be wacky on screen, but we'll give your character a dark backstory.
Yeah.
So they added the Willy Wonka's father is a dentist, and like his childhood scenes and all that extra baggage that
Get
came
rid of
with
it.
that.
Get rid
and
of
all this
it.
stupid shit.
Get
It's like
rid of
none
it.
of that needs to be there. Like,
Get rid of it.
for like, as much as people say that the remake is closer to the book, it is so far from the book with shit like that, where it's like, fucking, like, he has a father and he's a dentist and there's fucking this and that, and you're like, there's a whole scene after the glass elevator that happens in the remake.
God, I do not remember
that. Like, it's just the way he like reconciles with his father, and
What?
you're like, who the fuck is this? And it's just,
Why?
I don't know.
No, I know why. It's because Johnny Depp wanted to be the star of the film.
Well, it's not even his film. It's Charlie's and the Chocolate Factory
No,
now.
it's a Johnny Depp
like,
film.
that's the thing with...
Yeah, but Ben, it's a Johnny
That's
Depp
the-
film, so Johnny Depp's gonna be the star.
That's the cool thing about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, is that with the name change comes the fact that it kind of isn't Charlie's story anymore, because Charlie in the first film fucking sucks. He's the worst. Like,
Dude, kid
he,
actors.
God, he's garbage. The granddad is amazing, but the fucking kid's garbage.
Get rid of him.
But, like, it's not really Charlie's story. It's Willy Wonka's story. And they give him a lot more depth, and Gene Wilder is actually able to portray that depth.
Yeah.
Because they went that 50-50. Well, like, they just gave him those weird scenes where he just sort of soliloquies for a bit.
I
He
think
just says some weird poem, and everyone just sort of takes it at face value.
Well, there's this. What they did is they took. The first film took the artistic liberty and the adaptation they changed some scenes and they changed the way certain things played out to facilitate making a good film, right?
Yeah.
The problem with the second one and the remake is that the remake, they were like, we're going to be as authentic as we can. So they remade it blow for blow, and then took the weirdest liberties where they shouldn't have.
What they did is they made like a blow-by-blow book adaptation, which never really works.
Unless the
book is written in a way where it can work.
Yes.
But Charlie and Chocolate Factory isn't.
No, it's a Roald Dahl book.
It's a Roald Dahl book.
It
Yeah, like,
reads,
for fuck's sake.
it reads like a weird fun
Yeah,
kind of like
you
kids
need
nursery
to
rhyme
tweak it
thing.
to make it a good film. But instead of, doing what Willy Wonka did, where they tweaked quite a bit to make it sort of better, they sort of just added parts. Instead of like sewing the gaps together
They just filled
to
them with
create a
shit.
different shape, they filled it with weird stuff. And you're like, that's not meant to be there. That's clearly a hole.
Oh, you know
being
what it is.
filled. Instead
remember
of a hole being removed.
You remember in high school when there was this one assignment that I used to fucking hate that we would sometimes get when you're in like grade 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, where you would be reading a book in class for English class, and they would make you write a chapter in a space where there wasn't, like, in a time skip in a book. Do you ever do that?
No, but that sounds like fucking garbage.
You know what I mean? So like, there'd be like a time skip, and they make you write into it.
Ugh.
And I used to hate it because
There's a time skip for a reason.
and the teachers never used to understand that because
Yeah, like you like if there was a time skip and you write a section of just the most mundane garbage and you
it's
mark
like-
down, it's like, but that's what happens.
Yeah,
that's why there's a time skip. It's full of mundane shit.
or if there's a time skip where it isn't mundane stuff, there's a reason that it's not included. Like the silence is super important.
Yeah.
That's something that remake doesn't get. The silence about where Willy Wonka comes from is what makes him so fucking interesting.
Yeah, like the
No one gives a shit if your dad was a fucking dentist, but if you're
Yeah.
this eccentric dude with all of this money and you're a little bit insane, everyone's like, who's this guy?
Well, the introduction you get to Willy Wonka's factory in the first film is Charlie's like walking past it, and he sort of looks through the gate, and he just looks at it, and it's sort of quiet and empty. And then this weird guy with a cart full of knives comes up behind him.
That's right.
And gives him this weird, just esoteric, like, poem about, like, the origin of Willy Wonka and the fact that nobody ever goes in and nobody ever comes out, and then just leaves. You never see that character again. He's completely unimportant, but it just spooks the fuck out of you. And Charlie's like, okay.
It sets the
It
tone.
goes home.
Yeah.
But then, like, talks to his granddad, and his granddad sort of fills in the blanks. I think
That's such strong tone setting.
yeah, and it's like it's really sort of going off on a bit of a different bit here. The one thing that they added in the first film is Slugworth. So he's not in the book.
The fuck? Which one's Slugworth?
So Slugworth is the weird, creepy dude with the scar on his face that talks to all the kids when they get their ticket. You see, like, every time a kid gets a ticket and, like, it goes to them and they're getting interviewed and stuff, Slugworth will, like, pull them over to the side and whisper something in their ear. Well, you don't know he's Slugworth up until that point. But you get told who Slugworth is by Charlie's granddad. He says Slugworth is basically the competitor to Willy Wonka. And he's been trying to, like, get in to, like, figure out his secrets, get the recipe so he can, whatever. And when Charlie gets his ticket, he sort of actually, like, Slugworth properly introduces himself to the audience because he actually talks to Charlie instead of just whispering shit. And he's like, I'm Slugworth, I want you to get an everlasting gobstopper and bring it to me, and I'll pay you $10,000.
So many dollars.
Like a bunch of dollars.
Here's a bunch. I'll get you chocolate
And
forever, boy.
that's like a good motive because Charlie's poor as fuck.
Dude is so poor.
So he's like, that's a good idea. Like, he sort of takes it on board.
That was very good method acting, Ben.
Yeah,
I like
thanks.
that voice. That's good. That's a good idea.
So, and in the book, Charlie wins by just being a nice kid and getting through without fucking around.
Well, he wins by doing what he's told.
Yeah, whereas in the first film, he fucks around because him and his granddad steal the fizzy lifting drinks.
Yeah.
And you have that amazing fucking freak out by Gene Wilder at the end. And he wins because he doesn't steal the everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah.
Because it was all a setup that Willy Wonka made. A lot of people are like, oh, that's really bad because that's against the character of Charlie. Charlie's not meant to do anything wrong. It's just like, but it gives him a flaw.
Yeah, he's a human.
Like Charlie in the remake and the book, he's like this perfect kid. He's just like
He's
a
very
piece of
unrelatable.
cardboard. Yeah.
He's very unrelatable.
But like, if you were in a room where you could literally fly and your granddad, who hasn't been able to walk for 20 years, was like,
Okay.
was like, let's flee. Your granddad, yeah, who hasn't walked in 20 years, was like, let's fly. You'd fucking do it.
You're like, bro,
Like,
let's
you'd
get up
be
in
like,
that sky,
yeah,
bro.
Let's fly. And like, yeah, you know, they burp to get themselves down. They have like a little adventure on their own.
It's
And,
a good time.
yeah, and like, and you know, they get, it's like bad, and like they get freaked out, and Charlie's like, well, damn. Well, the granddad reacts really badly. He's like, you know, you're a fraud. Like, we're fucking out of here. And then when he's leaving, it's just like, we're gonna give that thing to Slugworth so that we can just get the money. And then Charlie's like, actually, I'm gonna change. You know, I'm gonna have some character development.
I'm gonna be written
despite
well.
despite being a cardboard box. And you know, and then he wins and he succeeds.
Very
and
scathing.
he's
Just a lot of
such a
anger
bad
from Ben
character.
today.
Like, he's real dumb.
he's just a classic, like, boring.
He's just a boy.
He's just a boring kid
he's just
book.
the poor boy.
The
Like,
poor boy.
That's it. He's just the
He's
poor
just
boy.
a famous poor boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie and the book's okay because it's just a single sort of thread. You know, he goes in, he succeeds, he gets good things because he's a nice human being, whatever.
Uh-huh.
In the movie, the first one, there's a bit more nuance to it. It's like he doesn't win just by following the rules and being a nice person. He wins by actually sort of being legitimately nice. Like, he had the option to walk away and, in his mind, get a shit ton of money, which we know is false. But he's like, no, what? I'm gonna go against. I'm gonna be the nice human being, even though we're super poor and we could use that money.
Yeah.
I was gonna do it. And then he succeeds. He gets the
gets
chocolate
all-
factory, all real good.
All the dollars.
But like in
anyway.
the remake, it goes back to the same premise of just you did it, good job.
Congrats, bro. And he's
You
like,
didn't
cool.
fuck up, and he's like, cool. It's just like, help me be nice, help me like reconcile with my dad again. You're like, what?
Like,
No,
please no.
deal with your own
Please.
problems, creepy old man. Like,
Yeah. Go and address your issues like an adult. Go to a
yeah,
fucking.
and like for a children's book, it's fine because children's books always have that very just one-dimensional character. Like, you look at like the fucking Beanstalk, Jack and the Beanstalk. It's like he's super one-dimensional. Like, you look at every sort of fairy tale or like children's book.
It's because kids find it really easy to project into characters, right? So if you
Into-
give them an empty shape, they can see themselves in it.
Yeah, whereas
Whereas
once you get
adults-
older, you get more jaded, and you're just like, that person's not realistic.
And
know?
you need to, instead of being able to project yourself in, you need to care about the character as a character, like as a person.
Yeah, you stop really projecting. You start actually just caring.
You start relating
Yeah.
rather than projecting.
So the new film is just all about projecting onto, like, to be fair, the Charlie in the new film is slightly better.
He's a better kid actor.
Yeah, he's a better actor, but character-wise, he's kind of just bad.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of that kid from the Polar Express. I fucking hate that film.
Dude, I can't. That film makes me ill.
I
the
don't know why
the-
people think it's a classic. I think it's garbage. It came out in 2006.
I actually can't.
It's not a classic.
I actually can't watch it. It makes me like physically.
Oh,
feel
yeah, it's
ill.
gross.
Like
It's
just
like Beowulf.
just the way that it moves and stuff. I feel like I can't do it.
So he reminds me of that character, just plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing that puts me off about the newest film the most is that it's very plastic. And to be fair, the original film is mostly rubber. Like, especially like the big chocolate room at the start of the first film when they're eating all the stuff.
Yeah.
And which is all meant to be candy. It's clearly just blow up rubber balls and shit. There's like one shot where an actor literally bites into like a slightly tinted like hose.
This is a piece
Because
of
it's
pipe.
meant to be candy, and you're like, that's clearly just a pipe.
That's clearly a hose.
like that's
yeah.
clearly just like food safe tubing.
Well, yeah. It
But
was of its time, but it still works.
Yeah, it feels you get this because it's consistent, and it has this consistent atmosphere, and all the characters are just like, yeah, this is food. You're like, yeah, whatever, I can fall into that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind. But like the new one, because it's so trying to be realistic, and you're just like, it's not. It's like most of it's not practical. A lot of it is sort of sneaky CG or sort of half practical, half CG. You kind of just like, yeah, no. Also, Willy Wonka looks like a weird Michael Jackson
I mean,
doll.
I don't.
Looks like a plastic doll.
Look, I don't hate Johnny Depp, but he should probably just do Pirates forever.
Yeah. Also, I thought films nowadays were like okay with having more midgets. Apparently not, because they were like,
No.
nah, just one midget, and we'll
one
just
midget.
CG him the rest of it. It's
Because
like,
whatever. Hire some people, you sons of
that
bitches.
makes no sense. Like, they managed to get like 8. like 8 separate Oompa Loompas in the or 8 or 6 in the original film, and they're all very unique. And this is like, yeah, I believe that this is a race of people.
Yeah.
Instead of just a weird clone.
Does he have a cloning machine?
Well, that's the thing, because like as a kid, I thought the Oompa Loompas were just like weird clones, but like because they're so different, like when I first like heard of Oompa Loompas, I was like, oh, they're like clones or whatever, because I didn't read the book till after I saw the movie as a kid, which is confusing. So I was like, oh, they're like clones, because his explanation in the first film just straight over your head, just gone in a flash. He's just like, yeah, they're people from the and you're like, okay.
And you're like, cool, you probably made that up, sir.
Yeah, you're like,
I call
whatever.
bullshit.
Yeah, that's fine. But in the new one, it's just like, they could just be clones, because it is the same dude. And like, he does an okay job as an Oompa Loompa.
But like, who, I don't, what's that
so
world?
aren't they like, it's Loompa Land.
No, but I mean the world that they're in, that version of the world, what is that? Like, that you could just have 500 of the same guy.
Of the same dude?
Yeah.
It's because all the Oompa Loompas are like genetic clones of each other, apparently.
I guess. At least in the other like Roald Dahl stories, there's like a sense of consistency with like how the world works. Like the witches and like every story in his works all have like a consistent kind of...
Yeah, they all have like the same rules of like what can a witch do, even though it's a witch.
Yeah.
You know, like
how do dreams work and how do giants work. Like all that stuff is kind of... But Willy Wonka is just fucking out there. Just a land of short, midget, green people that a guy enslaved to make chocolate.
Well, Charlie and Chocolate Factory, because the book is...
It's the guy that made... You know what I'm trying to say, though. Yeah. It's fucking weird.
Willy Wonka's the weird movie.
Yeah. Look, Johnny Depp, get out of it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, long story short, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the whole, you know, Roald Dahl hates the first film, and it's just like, well, would he... This is the biggest question, I think. It's just like, if he was still alive and he saw the remake, would he actually prefer it over the original, or would he think it's worse?
Yeah.
Because I think he would probably hate it. Just because it's not again, like, he's just the idea of him, like, you know, having to deal with another one of his books being made into films.
Oh,
It's
God.
like, you guys are going to ruin it again.
Dude, he would have been spewing.
So
if
he's
he
just
saw the BFG.
already quite spiteful. 2, Johnny Depp. 3, the Oompa Loompas. But, like, I don't know. It's the weird kind of thing where it's just like, it is technically close to the book, but as a film, it's not as good. So, like, in my opinion, you know,
So I was nodding.
if you know nothing about films and you're a huge book person, whatever. If you enjoy the remake, that's more power to you, I guess. You know, it's newer. Johnny Depp is still alive.
What are you doing? Are you empowering people? What are you doing?
But, like, if you actually like films and you like the new one for some reason, yeah, sorry.
Ben's
You're
trying to...
kind of wrong.
Ben's trying to say that's...
Long story short, the first
He's trying to
one
say
is
if you
a better
like it,
film.
if you like it, you're wrong, but that's okay, but you're still wrong.
Yeah, I think the first one is the better film, and that, to me, just, you know, we have the book, which is a classic, and we have the film that is a classic. They can be separate. We just have this unfortunate tumor that
Whoa.
we have to deal with.
Jesus
on the
Christ.
side.
Tell us what you really think. On that shiny, just fucking indicting.
I don't like the new one, man.
Gee, I didn't notice. On that note, we're out of here, guys. Look, if you want to tweet the team, we're at DCM_works. You can hit us up. We got the Facebook. We got the Twitter. We're on the Patreon if you want to give us a buck. I'm at DCMHitPie.
I'm at Little Citrus on Twitter.
And if you
probably
want...
other places.
Probably other places. Who knows? And if you want to get... If you're like, man, I really wish I owned a website, but I don't, then you can use our referral link in the show notes. You can get a few dollars off. It's US dollars too, so that's like 15 quintillion Australian dollars, which is real good. So if you ever wanted to have a website, but then you were like, nah, because it's expensive, now you can get it for... It's still going to cost you money, but it's a little less.
Yeah.
So you can do that. The referral link's in the show notes. We also I just launched a new channel, The Antagonist. You can check it out. It's my pet project that I'm working on. But otherwise, that's going to do it for another week of this show.
Yes.
I don't have a solid outro. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling. How the fuck do we normally end these?
Well, I was gonna say it's all right. The film isn't old enough to be nostalgic, so we won't get death threats this time.
Or will we?